annoying. The shouting guy is back with another interesting video. We are here at Cape Coast, Elmina Castle. I'm going to show you where our ancestors, the slaves, were kept, maltreating, beaten, and dying here in the castle. Please, if you haven't watched the last part of the slave before moving to the castle, pardon me, go back, watch the video. The story continues here. Very sad. Very, very sad. Shout out to Kasapreku and Kantanka, made in Ghana Goose. I really do appreciate for your support by taking Africa products to the next level. It's about time Africans need to patronize their own made. Please, if you are new watching my video, if today is the first time watching my video, do me a favor, consider subscribe to the channel and be part of the family. Like it, share it, comment. As you can see this place now, olden days time there was no watch like this. So this is what people do to detect watch.
They will put stick, a long stick in the middle.
And a long stick here.
Yeah.
And
it will stand like this.
Yeah.
And when the sun shine on it, where the shadow will alight, that would detect and tell you the exact time that
okay.
it is.
Here, they put stick here.
Yeah.
In the middle here. It will stand straight.
Straight.
When
the sun shines,
the sun is cutting.
Yeah.
Where the shadow goes,
it tells you the time.
The time.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, guys, as you can see, this is the entrance of Elmina Castle.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So this is the Elmina Castle. It's also known as the St. George's Castle. And this castle was built by the Portuguese. They first arrived here 1471. There were two reasons why they came. They came to trade and to spread the Christian religion. But the system of trade by then was barter. And barter is the exchange of goods for goods. So the Portuguese had goods like guns, gunpowder, knives, used clothes, even alcohol. So what they had, they exchanged for goods of the locals. The locals gave them gold, spices, and ivory. But the rate at which they received gold was so high. So it gave them the impression there was so much gold in this town. So they named this town Elmina. Yes, Elmina. It's a Portuguese word that means a mine. Yes, but the locals were not able to pronounce that. So they pronounced it as Elmina. Yes, Elmina.
Elmina.
Yes. Then another name the Portuguese gave this town was Aldea. Aldea means a village.
Aldea.
Yes.
Means a village.
Yes. But the locals were not able to pronounce that. So they pronounced it as Edina.
Edina.
Yes. So till date we all call this town Elmina or Edina. But these are Portuguese corrupted names or words. This town was known as Anumansa.
Anumansa.
Yes.
In our own local language.
Yes. It means the water that never finishes. And this also is in reference to the lagoon that we crossed before getting to this place. So the Portuguese went to negotiate with the chief of this land by then. His name was Nana Kwamina Ansa the First. They spoke Ansa the First. And they spoke about getting a piece of land to build a permanent structure for their trade. In 1482, this castle was built under the leadership of Captain Don Diego de Azambuja and 200 soldiers. So the Portuguese traded here in barter trade for about 45 years.
45 years?
Yes. Then they shifted from that form of trade to trading in slaves in the early 16th century. By then, there was a high demand for slaves, and the slaves were used as laborers in the West Indies in the Americas. The Portuguese spent about 110 years trading in slaves in this castle, but they lived here for 155 years. Then in 1637, the Dutch fought with the Portuguese for control of the castle. The Dutch were successful. Once here, they repaired the bombarded parts of the castle. Then they extended the castle to what we currently have. The Dutch were here longer than the Portuguese. They were here for 235 years. And they traded in slaves here. Yes. Then they sold this castle to the British in 1872. By then, they had abolished the slave trade all over the world. So the British used this place for political reasons. They recruited African men here, they trained them as soldiers. The soldiers they took to Burma and India, where they fought during the Second World War. When the Second World War was over, more African men were brought here by the British. And the British were here for 85 years. These African men they brought here, this time around they were trained as policemen. Then in 1957, Ghana gained her independence. Ghana had control of the castle. Ghana has had control for about 65 years. So today, this castle is 540 years.
540 years?
Yes. And this we call the female slave courtyard. All these rooms were dungeons for the female slaves. They kept about 400 of the female slaves every 3 months. Right here, we have a water reservoir. And this water reservoir was built by the Portuguese. They harvested rainwater here. So they have pipes like these ones connected to the roofs. So anytime it rained, it was filtered there, then it was gathered here. This was portable. They drank this, they used for cooking, bathing. It's 20,000 gallons of water.
20,000 gallons of water?
Yes.
This year. So this here belongs to only women?
Yes, the female slaves.
No, sir.
So here two wooden doors, a door just there, and then one here. But this is not the original floor. Please come this way. So right here we have the largest female slave dungeon. There were 150 of the female slaves here. They came from this country by then called Gold Coast. They came from other parts of Africa like present-day Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Togo and the likes. But they had to walk barefooted to this place. It took about 2 months of walking. Once they got here, they had to sleep on this floor. This is the same floor they urinated, they eat themselves, they vomited. They were women, so they had their menstruation on this floor. The door was there, the main door was there. So when the door was open, food was all on the dirty floor, and they had to eat from the dirty floor. So because of that, a lot of the slaves died. Air flowed from this side here. There's another side there, and the hole we see there. So the hole was the room where they kept their weapons, they kept their guns, their gunpowder. Just yes. So there were gunpowder, there were guns kept in there. Sometimes the fumes came in here, and those who breathed it died. We have a lot of visitors coming here occasionally, and they lay these wreaths here just to remember those who died. So most of the Europeans never came to Africa with their wives. They feared that malaria could kill their wives. So anytime they had that sexual desire, they had to rape the female slaves, the traders, the soldiers, the governors. I'll show you how the governor did it. So up here we call the governor's balcony. Governor's balcony. It's very close to the governor's bedroom. So the governor stood there up there. Then he ordered that the doors of the dungeons be opened. The female slaves moved from their dungeons and gathered here. From there, he selected a female slave he wanted to rape. She was very dirty. So water was drawn from the reservoir. She was bathed in the open. She was clothed, taken to the governor's bedroom through the stairs we have just here. So we'll be moving there shortly.
You mean after all they were doing to the women, keeping them here, so they are she raping them?
Yes. The women cannot stay without enjoying it. So right here we have the stairs. The stairs that the selected female slave had to climb to the governor's bedroom where she was raped. After she was raped, she had to descend and go back to the dungeons. She had to wait for the ships to arrive. So she waited for about 3 months. When the ships arrived, they had to screen the female slaves. Some of them were pregnant, so those ones were taken from the castle. There were stone houses in town. They took them there, they catered for them until they gave birth. They gave birth to mixed-race children. We call them mulattoes.
Yes.
They were brought back to the castle when they were between 3 years to 6 years. Here in the castle, they were educated. Then they were named after their European fathers. So when they grew up, they were adults. They went back to the Ghanaian communities. They mingled with the Ghanaians there. They married the Ghanaians. The effect of that is till date, some Ghanaians have foreign last names. Names like Smith, Coulson, Ferguson, Van Dyke. But you know, some of the female slaves, when they got to their turn for them to be raped, they refused to be raped, and they were punished. In those days, they were punished with a cannon ball. We have one cannon ball here. Please come this way. So right here, the cannon ball I mentioned, this was used to punish the female slaves who resisted the rape, and even those who were difficult to control. So this is how they punished them. There's a hole right here.
It's down there.
It's down here. Yes.
What?
So right, they placed chains or shackles in the hole. Then they tied them to the legs of the female slave. The female slave had to stand The whole day. Because this thing was so heavy, she could not move about with it. So in standing, she was not given water to drink, she was not given food to eat. After standing the whole day, she had to go back to be raped by the governor. So this is how the female slaves were punished.
So how were they punished by this?
So they put chains where you see the hole.
Yes.
Chains. We call the chains shackles. Then they tie them to the legs of the female slave. It's 25 kg. It's
Yes.
very heavy. So with that, she was not able to move. She had to stand the whole day. Standing, no water. So that's how they were punished with the cannon. It's terrible.
Very terrible. Very terrible.
Please come this way. So the selected female slave came up. She went to the governor's bedroom there where she was raped.
Yeah.
Then she went back to the dungeons the same way. So this is a private access to the governor's
Government.
bedroom. Okay. This was the governor's bedroom. And right so you see this passage?
Yeah.
When they were there kept in the dungeons for about 3 months, the ships arrived for them.
Yeah.
The female slaves who did not die in the dungeons, they passed this place to meet the ships. So they went to the door of no return, it's down there. There was a wooden staircase they descended. Today you can see a drainage system, so it's
Yeah.
not safe to use this passage. Some rooms on the ground floor all around us with black doors.
Yes.
These initially were storerooms. They kept the battle goods there. So the gold, the mirror, the other items were kept there in the days of battle.
Yeah.
By trading in slaves, that's where they kept all the male slaves. So these were converted to dungeons. There were about 600 of the male slaves every 3 months.
Every 3 months.
Yes. Then right here we have 2 cells. The soldiers lived on the first floor up here, the Ethiopian soldiers, followed by the deputy governor on the second floor. The governor was on the last floor. Then when you look up here, you can see some, well, we call them windows, but they're actually rooms.
Yeah.
So that's where the missionaries, the traders, and the priests stayed up here.
Yeah.
Then please, this in the middle. It was built as church by the Portuguese. They were Roman Catholics.
Church.
Church, Roman Catholic church by the Portuguese. But when the Dutch were here, they were not Catholics. So the Dutch divided this into 2. So that was a slave auctioning hall. They bought and sold the slaves there. On top the soldiers' mess for the junior soldiers, or dining hall. When the British were here, this was their police school. Today this place is a museum. Then this wall, we call it a buttress. We have another one here.
Yeah.
Some in front of the castle, some behind the castle. And these were erected by the Dutch. They support the walls of the castle so that the castle will not collapse. When the British came here, you can see some iron railings are there. So the British fixed them there. The policemen climbed it and they descended it as a way of exercising themselves. So these were fixed by
So it was fixed by the British for the police to
men.
trace.
Yes. You want to try it? Please, you can see 2 cells here. Now this cell was meant for the African slave men. Some of them tried to fight for their freedom. Those were taken from their branches were placed inside. So once they were here, they were not given water or food. They were left here to starve. They died in here. And when they died, the soldiers came for their bodies and threw their bodies into the sea. So we call this place a condemned cell. This here was meant for the white soldiers. Please come. So the white soldiers, some of them were difficult, some of them went to town without permission, some of them got drunk, misconducted themselves. They punished them here, the white soldiers. They were kept here for a few hours before they were released. But if they needed water, water was given them. If they needed food, food was given them. Then we have these two sources of ventilation, so a lot of air passes through this place. And you realize that this place is not the same.
Same as this place.
So we call this place the European cell. So right here we have one of the mill slave dungeons. And this was the transit dungeon. The mill slaves, they had to walk from their dungeons through this place to the door of no return down there. But some of the mill slaves were kept here. And those were kept here, you can see a hole here. So that is where their food was cast for them to all fight on the ground here for their food. They ate food like brown bread, they ate rice with oil, they ate millets. Those were the main food that the slaves ate. But all the female slaves, all the male slaves were branded in the room you see there. So that small room was a branded room. And this is how they were branded. They had metals. At the bottom of the metals or below the metals, they had symbols for the traders. Fire was made here. When the trader bought a male slave, their metal was placed in the fire to grow very hot. Then oil was smeared on the body of the male slave. Their metal picked from the fire, stamped on the bodies of the male slaves, just to identify them.
To mark them?
Yes, owners, yes, to mark them. To show that this slave belongs to that
this group.
Yes, so we call this place a branding room. Let's go to the door of no return. So this is the door or the gates of no return. This is original door of no return. Today you don't see the sea here, but in those days the sea was very close to the castle. The sea has receded with time. So just at the tip of the castle, they placed boats and ladder. Then the slaves got into the boats. The boats took them to bigger ships that waited for them. They were taken to places like Europe, the Caribbeans, the Americas, where they worked on plantations in mines. They never came back. That's why this was named the door of no return. But this door was intentionally made small. Why? To control the movement of the slaves. You can't have more than one person fit into this side. And as they moved, they counted them. This door was bigger in the days of barter trade. It was from here to that side here. But today you can see that they've narrowed it. And it doesn't suggest to us that there were not fat slaves and tall, huge slaves. There were, but you just look at the quality of food that they ate and the number of times that they ate. They ate just about twice a day. So a lot of the slaves lost so much weight that they were able to move through that door. An estimated number of about 3 million Africans were captured, brought to this castle. Out of that, 2/3 of them died. They died either when they were here in the castle or when they were being transported to the New World. Just 1/3 of them survived, so it meant that 1 million of them survived. Yes. And 2 million of them died.
Seriously?
Yes. So we have more of the wrecks behind us. You can even see bottles of schnapps. The like. Some people come here, they pour libation, they pray to their ancestors, and they leave their materials here. So these don't belong to the slaves. They are not original. Is this Marianne?
Let me ask you a question. How do you feel to hear your father or your grandfather, your mother, your grandmother was chained and dragged like animal? How did it feel to hear the story of Africans? How did it feel to hear the story of your grandfathers? How do you feel to hear your grandfather, your grandmother, your forefathers was maltreated and killing like animals, beating like animals? Very sad. We hope Africans, this will never happen again. It's about time Africans need to patronize their own made. It's about time Africans need to locate their goods in markets. It's about time Africa need to unite. We unite, we stand strong. We divided, we fail. It's about time Africans need to unite and stand strong. We hope this will never happen again in Africa. Keep watching. Our next video is going to be at Cape Coast Castle. The castle where the slaves were beaten most, maltreating most, dying most. It's quite sad. Very sad. Very, very sad. Subscribe, leave your comments, and like the video.